T-Bone is on the other side. T-Bone is on the other side. T-Bone, Prime Cuts, podcast on the other side. T-Bone, Prime Cuts, podcast on the other side. T-Bone, he sets the tone, originates, opinionates. T-Bone, musicality, originality, any day of the week. Prime Cuts, podcast on the other side. T-Bone, Prime Cuts, the talk space where musicians matter.
Welcome to T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side, Episode 7. Today our guest is the amazing guitarist, singer, and songwriter, Damon Johnson. Today we'll discuss his work ethic, early bands, meeting Stevie Ray Vaughan, Brother Kane, opening for Van Halen, writing and recording with Sammy Hagar, touring and writing with Alice Cooper, joining Thin Lizzy, Black Star Writers, filling in for Gary Rossington and Lynyrd Skynyrd, and of course, Damon Johnson and the Get Ready. Without further ado, here's Damon Johnson. Welcome to T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side. Our guest today is the great Damon Johnson. Damon, how are you?
T-Bone, I'm really good, man. It's nice to talk to you, man. I feel like we sort of met via social media.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of things that are easy to criticize about social media. but one of the positives, man, is it definitely gives people that have similar interests an opportunity to connect. So
absolutely,
it's cool to talk to you today.
Now, this is going to be a weird way to start a podcast, but this is important to me, and I know it's important to you. And there are a lot of young musicians that need to hear this. I wanted to start off talking about your work ethic and being on time. Well, listen, Damon had to be a little late today, and he sent me 2 emails. two emails. Other people were just showed up late. He sent 2 emails. He is dedicated to always being on time, and the work ethic is amazing. So where did that come from?
Oh, wow. Well, some of that definitely came from my parents. I'm so fortunate, man. Both my parents are healthy and doing great. And, they were just hardworking blue collar people my whole life. And, just being on time, it just helps you accomplish so many things, not the least of which is the respect of the people that are working with you, maybe the respect of the people that have hired you, et cetera, et cetera. But I also got to give a lot of credit to my amazing wife, Terry. My wife, Linda, she's, she might as well have it tattooed on my forehead. She's always saying, work smarter and not harder. I'm always working hard, man. So I've just found, man, that if you'll be on time, if you deliver what you tell people you're going to do, it just helps me be more productive throughout my whole day, man. And look, I got too much respect for you and your time.
Thank
if you say, hey, man, let's rock at 4:00, and I say, all right, I agree, then I'm going to be there at 4:00. And if something comes up, I'm going to definitely let you know.
Now, we've all been in bands with people who had problems with time. And that it just messes up everything within the band. But then, like you say, with the bar owners and, and the concert promoters and everything else, it just makes you look bad.
Man, there's no doubt about it. And look, I can't cast any stones at anyone. I absolutely went through a phase early in my career where I think me and the guys in the band, this even in the Brother Kane days, man, I think we almost felt like it was kind of hip to be, quote, fashionably late. You heard that all the time. And
oh yeah, it definitely was.
If I could go back, man, I would do that differently. I would be on time. And look, for the most part, we were. You know, we had a great radio promotional staff at our record company, and they were always delivering interviews for us, on air appearances at radio stations, you know, bringing our acoustic guitar. We said yes to everything. We would always say yes, we'll be there. And you know, man, everything has changed so much about the way music is grown and marketed, and you know how people find out about it. And look, man, I'm probably working easily as hard, if not harder now than I ever did, for that very reason. It's just so difficult, man, to reach any sort of critical mass, especially in rock music. It was so I always feel really lucky to have started my career in the time period that I did, because rock was king. Rock was the cultural influence in everything, fashion, film. And it's just not like that anymore, man. And that's okay. That's the ebb and flow of life, and that's how it goes. But there's no doubt, man, that my work ethic has served me well, and it continues to. And I can't promise you that my kids are picking up on any of that. So, but we'll see, man. There's always hope. There's always hope.
Okay, now to go back a little ways, I know that you and I both like a lot of the same artists and guitarists, but when you first started playing, who were some of the people that made you go, oh man, yeah, I want to play guitar?
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. I mean, I was lucky. I grew up around the guitar a little bit. My dad plays a little.
Sure.
So there was an acoustic at the house. He had a younger brother that was really good, and I would hear him play. And so that kind of first got me interested in guitar. But like so many other kids that were in grade school in you know, like 77, 78, you know, man, me and my friends, we all discovered this core of bands at the same time. And to start out, it was Lynyrd Skynyrd, it was Kiss. You know, we loved Rush right from the beginning, although we felt like Rush was way too complicated. We couldn't sit down, we couldn't figure that stuff out, but we loved them. And then very shortly after that, I got into Aerosmith and Zeppelin, Thin Lizzy in the late 70s. And you know, man, then when Van Halen hit the scene, that was a total game changer for me on a personal level, because the energy of the show changed my life. I saw them when I was in high school, but of course, Eddy's guitar playing was no one had ever heard or seen anything like that, and I wanted to try to soak up as much of that as I could. And I never really learned to play like Edward, but man, no one listened to more Van Halen than yours truly. I promise you that. There were guys that could sit down and figure out some of that stuff, but I just love the music and the songs and the harmony vocals and all that stuff, man. Van Halen had everything. So that was really big for me starting out. And then I got into the blues, man. You know, Jimmy Page kind of started me in that direction. Yeah. Stevie Ray was massive, you know, a real game changer for me, because, you know, after Eddie Van Halen arrived, Terry, as you know, the playing got faster and more technical, you know, as far as other players and other guys trying to imitate Eddie. And I remember, man, there was this moment when almost at the same time, like maybe even the same month, it's like Yngwie Malmsteen hit the scene and Stevie Ray Vaughan hit the scene at the same time. Yeah. And I felt like it was a crossroads for me. It's like, well, I'm either going to go one path or the other. You can't be devoted to both of those types of playing. So there was no question, man, that it was fortuitous for me, not just as a guitar player, but later even as a songwriter, that Stevie Ray became a real beacon of light for me. Gary Moore later, you know, and, you know, Billy Gibbons, ZZ Top, all that stuff. So that's always been underneath there. Listen, Angus Young is one of the greatest blues guitar players of all time. So I just feel like my influences have just been superb. and I wouldn't change a thing. I don't feel like I missed out on anything. You know, I might have started songwriting a little sooner, but that's okay, man. I got there eventually. And but yeah, those are the guitar guys that really got it going for me.
Yeah, we're about the same age, so I came up on all the same people too.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
man. And there were other bands. Listen, I loved Bad Company.
Oh, sure.
I loved Free. I loved Bachman Turner Overdrive. I loved Pat Travers. You know, the list goes on and on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, tip of the hat too, man. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It's wild. As much as I was so into all of these really hot shot guitar players, there was something about Tom Petty's music when he hit the scene with that first record. And I remember hearing Breakdown on the radio.
Yeah.
Something about the sound of his voice. You know, I could almost tell instinctively that he was from the South. I didn't know he was from Florida originally, but there was something Southern about him that really spoke to me as well. So I think Tom gets a lot of credit for kind of getting me thinking about songwriting
Sure.
beyond just guitar playing.
Now, I know you had a lot of bands, but one of your first big breaks was when you got the residency at a club.
Yeah, you're talking about Pat Upton. Pat
Yes,
was in
yes.
Yeah, man. So Pat ironically went to high school with my mother in this really tiny town in Northeast Alabama called Geraldine, which is where my mom lives to this day. That's where I graduated high school. Anyway, Pat was a rock star, man. He had been a member of a band called the Spiral Staircase.
Yes.
And in either 70 or 71, they had a top 10 hit called I Love You More Today Than Yesterday.
Yeah.
And Pat spent a better part of a decade or more living in California. And then he moved back to Alabama and opened up a nightclub. And through a really great chain of events, I wound up auditioning for the guitar player spot in that band. And those guys were all older than me, T. And it was such an incredible learning experience for me, because these guys turned me on to a lot of bands I had not really been exposed to. I think in particular, like Little Feat, Todd Rundgren, you know, even like Elton John's early stuff, man. Like that early Elton John band was so badass.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Nigel Olsson on drums and Davy Johnstone and Dee Murray on the bass. They were a great four-piece band. So that was a huge growth period for me, because playing guitar in that house band, we would play 4 nights a week, 3 sets a night. And we covered everything, man. The pop songs on the radio, classic rock, R&B, Motown. You know, when they would give me a guitar feature, you know, so I could play some of that Van Halen stuff. And it was incredible, man. Those were great times. And that was like the mid 80s, 85, 86. Really an important experience for me, for sure.
Now, tell us how you got into Split the Dark, because I know that was the next big move.
Yeah, man. So Split the Dark was a band also from Alabama, but they were from Birmingham, which is the big city here. And 2 of the guys in Split the Dark had previously been in an even bigger band called Hotel. And Hotel was all over the radio when I was in high school. They played all over the Southeast, and I never got to see Hotel specifically, but I did see Split the Dark, you know, playing it like they would play the fraternity parties after the college football games in Auburn or in Alabama. And I saw them in a club a couple times, and they were special. You know, they had a song on the radio, and to all of us, man, they were the real thing. They were from where we were from, but they had accomplished things that we just felt like wasn't possible. So it was very encouraging to me to see a band from Alabama, you know, have a video on MTV, have a song on the radio. And there's no question that got my wheels spinning, like, well, wow, maybe one day I could do that. So you can imagine how I felt when the singer from Split the Dark saw me play in a club one night and asked me to join their band. It was, I mean, Terry, I couldn't have been, I've said this quote before, man, I couldn't have been more excited if David Bowie had asked me to, you know, it was a big, big, big deal. And I joined their band, started working with them. I moved my very young family to Birmingham to be in Split the Dark. So that was like early August or September of 1987. That's when I moved to Birmingham. Yeah.
Now, I know that after that you played in Witness, and I mean, that's a big deal too, but I want to talk about Delta Rebels because I'm a huge Eddie Shaver fan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I first saw them on Conan O'Brien, I think it was 94, and they were on there and did Georgia on a Fast Train. And I went out the next day and got the record Tramp on Your Street. And then the Unshaven, that live record is one of the best records ever.
Bro, listen, yes, I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more, Terry. Wow, that's so cool that you know about Eddie.
Oh,
anyone that I ever come across that does know about Eddie Shaver, they feel the same way about him that I do. He was, pound for pound, maybe the greatest American guitarist in history, man. I mean, that guy, I mean, it was all blues and Texas red dirt country. You know, his dad was a legend.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Billy Joe.
Yeah, Billy Joe Shaver, legend, wrote all those Waylon Jennings songs and made all those great records himself. And yeah, that was a bolt of lightning that I was not anticipating. I could have been really intimidated in that moment because I was pretty confident when I joined the Delta Rebels. I didn't know who the other guitar player was going to be. And, you know, it didn't even matter. I was thinking, well, I'm going to be the lead guitar player. I hope this guy's comfortable playing rhythm, you know? And, I mean, you know, forgive me for being redundant, Terry, because I've told the story a few times, but it was one of the most pivotal days in my whole musical life to go to Memphis for the very first rehearsal. It's the first time all 5 band members were going to be there. I was early, definitely on time, set up my stuff, I think I had a red Kramer with a Floyd Rose on it, you know. And I had a rack with some effects in it and a bunch of pedals on the floor. Well, the singer, R.T. Scott, he's there. My drummer, Eddie Boyd, he's there. James Flynn, the bass player, who was R.T.'s age, they had been in bands together in Memphis. So the 4 of us are there. This Eddie guy is late. And, you know, so R.T.'s like, well, let's just jam. Let's play some of the songs. Let's work on some of the stuff. So, man, we played for half an hour, still no Eddie. And finally, we're playing, the door opens, and this guy comes walking in. I swear to God, I thought he was like a roadie, like a guitar roadie. He had on a beat-up leather jacket, these cool as shit boots, but they were just beat to hell. He had a gig bag over his shoulder and a cigarette dangling out of his mouth. And his hair was kind of like, had grown sort of in his face. So he just seemed kind of shy. And
yeah,
I just like, oh, that must be Eddie's guitar tech or his guitar guy, you know? So we're playing, and out of the corner of my eye, I watched this guy walk over to the amp. He sets everything on the floor. He takes the speaker cabinet and turns it around to face against the wall. He pulls out this beat up Stratocaster out of that bag. I swear, Terry, it looked like it had been drugged behind a pickup truck on a gravel road, man. I mean, it was rough. He put the guitar on, he reached in and pulled out a guitar cable, no effects, no nothing, plugged in the guitar straight into the amp. He took his arm and he put it up on the controls. He goes, and just rolled all the knobs. And my friend, he reached around and clicked on the standby on that amp, and he hit one note. And I was never the same. I was never the same after that. I had never heard a tone like that. I had never been punched in the face with authenticity at that level. I'd never gotten close to it or seen it. You could have described it to me and been like, well, this is what it's going to be if you ever come across the real fucking deal, pardon my language. But that was it. And thanks to the gods of the universe, man, that I had the wherewithal to recognize it and not get insecure and not just go, well, I'm not going to play with this guy. There was none of that. I was like, okay, this is an opportunity for me to learn. I'm going to learn. This guy knows so much more than I do. If he would just be my friend, and true to that hope, that's exactly what happened there. We became great friends, and pivotal moment for me, buddy. Pivotal.
Oh, I bet.
It changed my guitar playing. It changed my sound. It changed my focus. It changed my commitment to doing whatever I could do to be authentic myself. And I had a lot to learn at that point, man. So really grateful for
that. Tell us a little bit about your meeting with Stevie Ray Vaughan. Now, I saw him twice on that last tour. Unreal, almost a spiritual experience. I mean, it really was. You just seeing him. I was the second show. I was much closer than was the first one, and he opened with the Testify, and just he would go up on his toes and he's just like,
Yeah, man. I only saw Stevie live a couple of times, but anytime he was on television, I saw it. I bought every record he put out.
Oh, yeah.
And any magazine he was in, I was reading about it. So yeah, he played in Birmingham in November of 1989. I'm trying to remember when was the helicopter crash? Was that?
It was in 90. It was August of 90.
Okay. So he was in Birmingham in November of 89 doing that co-headlining tour with Jeff Beck. And yeah, man, I was so lucky, man. I had a really good manager friend at that time, and his partner was also, they were concert promoters, so they were involved with bringing the shows to town. So Michael was so great, man. He called me, he said, hey, do you want to come down to this show, Stevie Ray and Jeff Beck? I was like, oh my God, yes, thank you. So that night, Stevie opened, he played first, and Jeff went on at the end. But after Stevie's show, Michael brought me back to the backstage area, and it's really small at this auditorium, Boutwell Auditorium. There wasn't a lot of room, and so it was kind of a scuttlebutt going on, and I was just trying to stay out of the way. But in a minute, I saw Stevie Ray standing there in the hallway, kind of shaking hands and talking to a few people. And so Michael goes, Damon, come with me. So he just walked straight up to Stevie and he says, hey, Stevie, I want you to meet our local gunslinger.
Oh, man.
This is Damon Johnson. And I just dropped my head. I was like, oh no, why did you say that? And I guess I looked a little embarrassed or something. And Terry, it was so special, man. Stevie came straight over and put his arm around me. He said, hey, brother, don't let that stuff bother you. He goes, I've been hearing that stuff my whole life, man. He said, that don't mean nothing. He goes, I'm sure, his exact words were, I'm sure you are a real fine player. I said, well, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. I said, he's like, well, tell me what you got going. What's happening? I says, well, I'm really a Les Paul player, but I did get a Strat a couple years ago, thanks to you. And he winked at me, and I said, I got a band, and I've written a bunch of songs, and I've been in Memphis a lot this year, but I'm kind of ready to do my own thing. And he goes, man, I relate to that. And he revisited some of his story, which of course he played with everybody in Dallas and in Austin before he became Stevie Ray Vaughan of Double Trouble. And yeah, man, right around the corner here in my office, I still have a beautiful picture of Stevie that was in Guitar World magazine. It was like a poster. And then up on the top of that poster, I framed that backstage pass that he signed. And he said the greatest thing on that pass. He said, to Damon, all the best in living and playing.
Oh, man.
Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Wow.
And I'm not going to lie to you, man. I've signed that on a few musicians. You know, anytime a young player comes up, or, you know, and I can feel that energy from him, that reminds me of the energy I had that night. I've written those words to a couple of guys, and I mean, shit, man, it makes me emotional just thinking about it.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's really powerful stuff.
Supporting T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side podcast gives you interesting inside views from the talk space where musicians matter. Go to tbpcpodcast.com and click the donate button. All contributions are much appreciated. So now we're up to or roughly up to Brother Kane, and I know that that band started as what Child, right?
That's right, Child
with a Y.
Yeah, Child with a Y. The Delta Rebels thing ran out of gas, and so I came back to Birmingham, and like I said, I had a really good manager, my buddy Conrad Rayfield, and he was super supportive. He's like, well, look, let's find you a singer, and let's write some songs, and we'll demo them up. We'll see what we can get going. And so I started working with a guy that I liked a lot, and we started out very kind of British metal, you know, because the singer was very kind of, you know, he could hit those high notes like Rob Halford.
Right.
He had that aggressiveness, sort of an Ian Gillan, a little bit of Axl Rose in there. There was some of that. And of course, I was way into all those bands, but I had a bunch of guitar riffs and chord progressions and things came together pretty quickly. We had some songs that I thought were pretty good, and I put a rhythm section together. We came up with that name. We started shopping, and you know, with Conrad's help, and you know, pretty quickly we started getting feedback, and it was pretty consistent, Terry. People were either they weren't sure about the singer, or they didn't like the singer at all. They didn't like his voice. Some pretty good comments about some of the songs, and you know, they would always say nice things about my guitar playing and whatever, but it was really Virgin Records, literally the last label we showcased for. They came, and Aaron Jacobus came to Alabama from Los Angeles and saw us play because he really liked the tape, liked the songs. And he got so excited about the band, he just said, listen, I'm going to sign Damon to a development deal, and I'm going to help him find a singer.
Wow.
And so that's what ultimately led to Brother Kane. We had a couple other guys that I worked with. You know, the thing for me, man, is I just want to hang out with people that are cool and that are fun and that want to make it happen.
Yeah.
And there was no shortage of those people, man, in 1990, 91. You know, rock was alive and well. The Black Crowes had just dropped their first record, and that had everybody excited right after Guns N' Roses, who we all love. So there was just good energy, man. And you know, there was a fateful night in Birmingham. The record company had come to town to kind of check our progress, and it's one of those 3 sets a night,
Yeah.
playing all night. So to give the singer a break, I would sing some cover songs. So Aaron was there, Aaron Zukovas, and he heard me sing those songs, and he pulled me off to the side and he's like, "Hey man, I didn't know you could sing." And I've told the story before, man. I was like, "No way, bro. I'm not going to be the singer." And he said, "Listen, we've been working on this for 6 months. We've spent a sizable amount of money. We're running out of time. Let's go in tomorrow. Let's get you behind the microphone. And let's just see. Let's just see what it sounds like." And all credit to my bass player, Glenn Maxey. Glenn was the only person in Child that also made the transition into Brother Kane. And Glenn famously, pulled me up, kind of pushed me against the wall. He goes, "Listen, you have to do this, man. I think he had more confidence in me than I had in myself at that time." And so that was a really important moment, to have a guy that had been riding shotgun with me to say, "Yeah, man, you can do this. Let's go. Let's go." So, and things move pretty quick, as you know. We put out that debut record in '93, and quickly, man, we had some noise happening at radio, and we were starting to open some big tours, and it was a life-changing experience.
Well, it was for me too. As a guitarist, I was kind of getting sick of the way music was heading. There were still some good bands, but I didn't like where it was going, and I was getting kind of frustrated. And then when I heard "Got No Shame" on the radio, I was like, I just totally perked up. You had to pull a car over and listen to it. Is that good? And well, actually, this was my next question, but you covered. I was going to say you're such a great vocalist. It blows my mind that you weren't originally the singer, but you wanted to be the guitar player.
Yeah, totally, man. I totally wanted to be Gary Rosington, or I wanted to be Scott Gorham, or Jimmy Page, or Joe Perry. It's like, or Slash, man. Come on.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
God, I remember we used to just watch that video to Paradise City on repeat.
So did we.
And man, when you're a naive musician, I mean, maybe naive is the wrong word, but I knew that my playing had developed to the point that I could do this. Like, man, I can do this for a living. All I need is to find a singer like that Axl Rose guy, because he was a badass. And then he's flanked by 3 of the coolest looking guys we've ever laid eyes on, man. And they didn't look like they bought, everyone was different. There was each guy had a unique thing. They were almost like Kiss in that way.
Yeah.
Slash and Duff and Izzy and Axl, and of course, Steven Adler on the drums. But yeah, man, all of that energy was informing what was up. So I knew I was not an Axl Rose. I didn't have the swagger and the panache of somebody like Chris Robinson, man, who I was a huge fan of the Black Crowes. But I knew I could walk on stage with anybody and hold my own with my guitar playing.
Sure.
And here's that term again, T, my work ethic. I knew I would outwork anybody. I don't care who they are or where they're from. Nobody's going to work harder than me. So that was kind of what gave me that gumption. So I appreciate what you said about Got No Shame. We definitely moved the needle at that moment. And we didn't expect that. It's not like we thought, oh, well, this is a home run. Everything's going to start happening for us. We didn't believe that at all. We just got in the van and hit the road and started playing wherever we could play. So, those were big moments, man. You find out your song's been added to the Riff in Detroit or the Eagle in Dallas. And, oh, we got some Lynyrd Skynyrd dates. Robert Plant is going to take us out, in the fall. And then, the big kahuna, man, we went out with Aerosmith early '94. And I wish
Well-
I'd have taken more pictures, man, because it all went by really fast.
Well, you mentioned the riff. I grew up in Metro Detroit, so yeah, I listened to the riff, that and WLLZ. I listened to those two constantly.
Wheels, baby, Wheels and the riff. Those were
Yeah.
two early and huge supporters of Brother Kane. Really, really, they had a lot to do with our success nationwide, really, T, because as you know, those were taste maker stations. If the riff in Detroit was going to add your song, then there were 30 other stations just in the Midwest alone that were going to add it. So it's maybe it's no coincidence that I wound up marrying a Detroit girl.
Yeah.
And we met at a Brother Kane gig, not ironically. So but yeah, man, Brother Kane just opened every possible door for anything that I was committed to doing as an artist or as a professional musician. Songwriting, performing, networking. It really gave me my start, man. And there's certainly some things that we all would have done differently if we would have that chance. But we also recognize too, man, that we were one of the lucky few bands that really, we made an impact there for a minute.
Sure.
And me and the guys, man, we'll always be proud of that. There's no question that what Brother Kane accomplished, it set the stage for all the other things that came after that for me. Things that if you had have told me in 1999 when the band was breaking up, because I was bummed and confused and it was just, everything was a mess right then. If you had have said to me, hey man, everything's going to be okay. You're going to write a couple songs. Stevie Nicks is going to record one and Santana's going to cut one. And you're going to play guitar for Alice Cooper. You're going to join Thin Lizzy. I would have been like, what? It's not possible. No, how can that happen? So yeah, it's all thanks to Brother Kane.
Well, can we just talk a little bit about one song that it means the world to me off that first record?
Of course.
Was How Long. I still listen to that like weekly or sometimes every day. That means so much to me. And that's a song too that your vocal performance is amazing. I mean, especially being the first record that you were the singer. It's emotional to listen to it, and knowing what it's about is even more emotional.
Well, thank you so much for that, Terry. The guys and I are so proud of that song. And, I said earlier, if we could have done some things differently, we would have. And one of those things is we would have released How Long as our second single after Got No Shame. We had some good success with the songs that we did release, but
Sure.
How Long had a social commentary that we as a band were committed to. And I think, we'll never know. We'll never know what would have happened had we taken that moment, because I've said it many times, man. Those lyrics were inspired by the Rodney King beating and, the verdict for the police officers and the riots that happened afterwards. We were so moved by that. And, we were too young to really get our heads around the civil rights movement in the 60s. We were too young for that, but we definitely were old enough and worldly wise enough to know this is not right. And that song came out of that. We gathered for a rehearsal. We had finally gotten the final version of the band together. Scott Collier had just joined on drums. Roman was playing rhythm guitar. And I'll never forget, man, we all came to rehearsal that night after the verdict, you know, for that court case. And we just all sat around kind of stunned. And it was a scary moment, man,
Yeah.
because you understood that that reaction was real. And, you know, the reaction in just the country, man, the riots and, you know, the nation crying like, hey, man, this is not justice. This is, and I'd never thought about writing anything like that. You know, again, man, we're listening to Chris Robinson sing, you know, Remedy and Twice as Hard and,
Yeah.
you know, Axl. You know, we were so immersed in the Use Your Illusion records at that point. So it was just a powerful moment. We captured it. We captured how we felt about it. And we got a really great song out of it. And I feel like it's a timeless song.
That's what I was going to say. It was timely and it's become timeless.
I agree with you, man. It's a really special song. And I'm always proud to talk about that song. And again, thank you for your kind words about it. Yeah.
No, it's important to me to be able to tell you. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Now that record had a big impact, but I really think that, you know, Seeds of Wishpool, especially Wishpool, that may not be as bombastic, if you will, or, you know, that way, but I think it's a better, pardon me for saying, I think it's a better overall record.
Oh, 100%. You'll get no argument from me about that. And you'll get no argument from the other guys in Brother Kane about that. Wishpool was a complete body of work. It was more like a piece of art.
Yeah.
There are great songs on those first two records. Great song.
You nailed it.
Great song.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And, you know, both those records are full of great songs and they have a vibe and they work together a certain way. And, you know, they're very reflective of the year in which they came out. But Wishpool was, I'll never say it was a concept record because it wasn't, but there was a congruency of the lyrical content of all 12 songs on that record.
Yeah.
And, you know, all of us in the band were going through a lot of challenges. I was going through challenges in my marriage, in my personal life. And I never sat down and says, well, hey, I'm going to write about all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was never that, man. I was just writing songs. We had to make another record. And I guess, you know, when you got the guitar in your hand, I wrote a lot of those songs with my friend, Marty Fredrickson. You know, it's just where my head was at. So when he's like, well, what do you want to sing about? Well, you know, I was all consumed with these challenges in my personal life. So it was inevitable that stuff was gonna come out. And, you know, man, a couple times a year to this day, I'll put on Wishpool, put on my headphones and just listen in sequence, top to bottom. And it's always such a powerful listening experience. Of course, it's a shame that the record didn't do more or reach more people, but man, it might be, you know, it might be one of those, certainly a desert island disc of my contributions as a writer and a storyteller.
Yeah.
Kelly Gray did an incredible job producing the band on that record in every way, especially with my vocals. He absolutely got the best vocal performances, certainly that I'd done up to that point, without a doubt. So good stuff, man. Seeds, Wishpool, a lot of great songs throughout those three records. And, you know, it's so fun now to run into not just fans, but, you know, friends that we've met in other bands over the years. And, you know, they'll just be like, hey, man, wow, that Seeds record was so awesome. And I love Bread Maker, or I love, you know, horses and needles, whatever, man. It's just such a great achievement that I don't think any of us will ever take for granted. I certainly won't, especially now knowing, again, man, how low on the totem pole rock music is.
Oh yeah.
You know, we had a great run, and you know, I keep in touch with all those guys, and it's fun to, you know, as I do my solo stuff, I still play those songs. Man,
Sure.
I play lots of them, and so it's equally gratifying to get a reaction from the fans or to talk to them after the show. And there's a lot of love for Brother Kane, for sure.
So how did you hook up with Marty? I mean, people know him as a writer, I mean, prolific writer, and then producing it. And I don't think a lot of people know that that was him doing the singing on Almost Famous.
Yeah.
For Jason
right.
Lee. How did you hook up with him?
Well, I met Marty before all of that. You know, we always joke around and say we discovered each other. And that's really how it was, man. I had that development deal with Virgin. I had only been writing songs for 2 or 3 years at the most. And when we signed our record deal, Virgin also had a publishing company, and they were very helpful in putting me with some other songwriters to co-write. And I would get a bag of cassette tapes mailed to my house from the publishing company, and I would listen to all of them, man. And I just remember being super underwhelmed by how many of them were, it just sounded like people trying to write, you know, You Give Love a Bad Name, or no offense to any of those writers or to any of those songs, but I was just in such a different headspace. And Marty's tape,
they were all just very formula.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff was formula. And the tape that Marty sent certainly was of the times lyrically, but sonically, the drums, man, were just in your face. The guitar it just sounded like Joe Perry, you know? And I called the publishing company. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but whoever he is, I would love to get with him, because I can tell we both have some Cheap Trick records and some, you know, and some Aerosmith records and some new wave records, you know, Psychedelic Furs and, you know, the Police. Like I could just tell, man, we had a lot of stuff in common. So that's exactly the case. And, you know, Brother Kane would not have happened without Marty's help. That's a fact, T. You know, we had some good songs already, but we didn't have Got No Shame or Hard Act to Follow or The Road. You know, Hard Act to Follow might have been the demo that gave us the green light to go make a record. You know, when Aaron Jacobus heard Hard Act to Follow, he got real excited. I remember him jumping up and down in his living room at his house in LA, and because I would stay right down the street from Aaron's house, and we would have breakfast every morning and talk about the plan for the week and whatever. He got really excited. He's like, there's something here, like you need to write more songs with this guy. And that's what we did, man. Don't Turn Your Back on Me. That was another Marty song that's on the record. So yeah, Marty's he's incredible, man. He's incredible. Marty's one of the most talented people I've ever met. And, you know, that's another example, really, Terry, of me. I'm proud of myself that I didn't get intimidated by Marty. It's easy to get intimidated by somebody like that. And it's just like Eddie Shaver. It was the other way for me. I knew immediately, like, wow, I can learn from this guy. Yeah. This guy I can learn from, and he's cool, and he listens to the right stuff. And Marty was also very smart. You know, he was wise enough to be like, all right, Damon's got his shit together. He's got a band, he's singing. He's open to suggestions about vocal melodies and things like that. And, he taught me, man, if you're going to be a songwriter, you got to just get in the room, sit down, and don't get out of that chair until the song is finished. And if it takes you 3 days, then that's what it's going to take. And that's what we're going to do. He taught me that. It was awesome.
Well, see, not only what you said, but it says something about you that all these talented people keep, they don't, it's not an accident that you're connecting with all these people, because if you weren't as good as you are, you wouldn't have met, him, you wouldn't have met Alice Cooper, you wouldn't be in Thin Lizzy, all these things happen for a reason.
There's no question, man. There's no doubt. And I just know that none of those things would have happened without a team of people.
Yeah.
There's no question, man, that whenever it was my turn to deliver, I delivered what was needed for me. But, there were so many people along the way, especially Conrad Rayfield, Aaron Jacobus, Marty Fredrickson, pivotal people, man.
Yeah.
No, things would have not been the same without each one of them. Vitally important. And I guess, it's it makes me think of the incredible experience I've just had this past fall, Terry, filling in for Gary Rosington and Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Sure.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, it's like, yeah, the relationships help connect those dots and open those doors. But at some point, I have to show up, plug in, and, hit that first note.
You got to perform.
And it's always my deepest gratitude, man, at that moment when I hit that first note and I can tell the energy in the room, the looks on people's faces when they go, oh, there it is. Yeah. Now I know what the big deal is. Now I know why he got the call. Now I know why, management was talking about this guy, or Ricky Medlock was talking about this guy. I'm so proud of that, man. I'm so proud of that. All that has brought that about is just tenacity and hard work and a deep love of music. There are more talented guys, brother. There are more talented guys than me, for sure. Singing, playing. Guys look better in leather pants than I do. But yeah, man, it's been an awesome ride.
You can help support this podcast by visiting tbpcpodcast.com/shop and selecting an iconic T-Bones Prime Cuts mug. That website again is tbpcpodcast.com/shop.
So what did you want to ask me next? We covered Brother Kane. We talked about Wishpool.
I was just going to talk a little bit about when you got to open for Van Halen on the Balance Tour, and
yes,
hanging out with, what you played about, 11 shows or something like that.
11, I think it might have been closer to. Sorry, man, I lost you for a second. I think it could have been a little closer to like 14.
14.
I want to say 14 or 15 shows. It was a great run. Yeah, man, just nuts. I mean, I was excited about every phone call we got from the office. Hey guys, you're gonna do some Robert Plant dates. I was excited about every one of them.
Sure.
But there's no question, man, that to get to open for Van Halen, the band that put me on my path. I loved all kinds of bands and guitar players and singers and songwriters and all that. But Van Halen was a force of nature. And to just get an endorsement from them, like, hey, we want this band to come on the road with us and share the stage with us, because you know, they had heard And Fools Shine On the radio, and other people in their road crew or their management, they were like, oh yeah, that's a good band, or I saw them play, blah, 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 whatever. So yeah, man, it was insane. It was awesome. We played a lot of big shows we played with them, Terry, but the biggest was when we played Birmingham. We got to play hometown.
Oh yeah.
Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center, the same place I saw them on the Women and Children First tour in 1980. It was biblical, man. It was biblical. It was great. It was amazing.
So I mean, it had to mean a lot too. Then when after they broke up, that Sammy Hagar called you to write songs with him and play on the record too.
Yeah, really fun, really, really special. I love Sam. Sam is such a soulful human being. And yeah, he loved And Fools Shine On, man. He would walk down the hallway singing it. You know, we'd come off stage from sound check and he'd just be standing there. He loved it. So yeah, it's a real honor for Sammy to call me. And that was a lot of fun. And you know, sometimes when I've worked with heavy cats like that, it does take me a minute to sort of settle not my nerves, but just to kind of go, okay, man, look, you have every reason to be here. Just because this is a big star that has sold millions and millions of records, that has nothing to do with how authentic I am and where I'm coming from with my ideas, you know, with my song ideas, guitar ideas, whatever. And, you know, Sam he just put my mind at ease right out of the gate. And I thought we came up with a great song, and just another great memory, man. I've been keeping in touch with Sam a little bit lately, just via email, and you know, I'm hoping our paths cross really soon.
That would be a great, if you could play with them, that would be great.
That'd be awesome.
Now, I know that you touched on it earlier, but you've written songs that were recorded by some big names, and you didn't write them for them. They actually found it, or somebody found the songs or passed them on. But what did that mean to you, especially that first one?
Yeah, well, for sure, man. The Stevie Nicks song was the first, you know, big, like outside cut. And indeed, I wrote that song with my friend John Shanks, and I wrote that in a batch of songs. This was right after Brother Kane had disbanded. I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And my great friend at the publishing company, Sharona Sabag, Sharona said, listen, Damon, you should keep writing. At the very least, keep writing. Like, why don't you make a trip out? Let's get you and John together. Because John and I had written a song that was on Wishpool, a really great song called Where Was I to Know? And John is another badass like Marty. Jesus, man. John Shanks has won Grammy Awards for songs he's written and records he's produced. So
no, doesn't he play with Bon Jovi or something?
He is. He's been playing guitar in Bon Jovi. I guess, man, for the last 10 years almost. He's been a part of it for quite some time. But yeah, man. So John and I wrote this song, and he was at that time he was Melissa Etheridge's guitar player. And Melissa and Stevie Nicks shared management.
Okay.
So he heard from management that Stevie was looking for one more song to finish her record. And talk about great work ethic, man. John he never misses anything, man. So he put together a CD to send to Stevie that had like 15 songs on it that John had written or co-written over the last several months. And he asked me, he goes, hey man, can I put that song in there? He didn't tell me he was going to send it to. Yeah. I didn't know any of that. So yeah, that was an incredible day, brother, to get a call from John. He was at the studio with Stevie. and he held the phone up. You know, this was still the days of the old, you know, regular,
Yeah, right.
the hard telephone. He held it up to the speakers. He goes, "Hey man, check it out. I think we got a cut on our song." And I could tell it was a female, but I just, over the phone, I was like, man, that voice sounds really familiar. And I thought it was maybe like like some young, like one of those Disney girl singers, like a Hillary Duff, you know, because my daughter listened to all that stuff. I would hear it at my house all the time. And he goes, "Do you know who that is?" I said, "No, who is it?" He goes, "It's Stevie Nicks." Come on, man. Come on. And Every Day is a really simple, beautiful song. Great pop song, man. And the lyric was inspired by my girlfriend who was about to become my fiance, who is now my wife and has been since 2002, Linda. And again, man, it's like, I just remember John's like, "What are we going to write about?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm crazy about this girl, like whatever." And we just had this chord progression and this simple, almost nursery rhyme kind of melody. And I had been talking about trying to start this new relationship because I had just divorced and, things were a mess. But it inspired that lyric, man. Every day I see you, every day I feel you, every day I need you. It's timeless, man.
Yeah.
It's timeless. It's just a great song. And all credit to Sharona, credit to John Shanks, and the legend Stevie Nicks, man. Really, really exciting for me.
Then somewhere in this time frame was started the Alice Cooper bit.
Yeah.
And not only playing in the band, but actually writing songs on what was it, Dirty Diamonds?
Dirty Diamonds. Yeah, man. Yeah. Everything
that title cut is killer.
It's killer. Yeah, so many great songs on that record. And I swear, man, as time passes, I like that record more and more. I was so distracted in my life at that time, focused, working hard, but Linda and I had just had our first child together. I had just joined Alice Cooper, and, our life was a little bit upside down because, Alice toured a lot. I was out of town a lot. And so things were just wacky, but, yeah, to get to play with Alice, it was a experience. It was a job that I needed, even though I didn't realize I needed it.
Yeah. At
that time, Terry. Brother Kane we had all worked so hard and we were kind of all exhausted. Like we were just fed up. That was really part of why the band broke up. We were just kind of threw our hands up like, man, we just delivered Wishpool. And if Wishpool isn't going to move the needle, then we don't know what else to do.
Right.
So it's just nice, man, to certainly get the respect of someone like Alice and the guys in his band. All those guys I'm friends with to this day. Talented musicians, good people. And I don't know, maybe I did need a little validation right then. Maybe my confidence needed a shot in the arm. And that was certainly what I got playing with Alice. And it was special that, I did about 6 weeks of dates with him at the end of the year in 2004. And early 2005, he called and he said, "Hey, man, this is what we're doing. We're going to make a record. And I'd love for you to," he goes, "Have you got any ideas?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, man." I'm loaded with ideas. I got tons of stuff. So exciting to sit in that room for the first time and watch this guy who I had not only seen as the performer, but I had seen Alice as a husband, as a father, as a rock star personality. But Terry, I got to see him turn into Alice Cooper, the songwriter. And very quickly, man, I just remember going, okay, there it is. He's doing it. You know, he would just sit there with his pen and paper. And he'd say, all right, man, play that riff again. And I would just play it. And, you know, he'd like, and he'd write. And he'd say, keep playing it. And he'd write. And he'd go, okay, what do you think about this? You know, and he would read, you know, that opening line to Dirty Diamonds. It just sounded like a gangster movie. And I was like, wow. You know, I would have never thought of lyrics like that. And, you know, Alice is just, he's a big brother, Terry. He's a big brother that I never had. He's taught me so much. He's the greatest role model any of us in rock and roll could ever have. Look, man, we've all been through the ups and downs, and, you know, we've made things hard on ourselves, and whatever it is, man, drugs and booze and women and money. And, you know, Alice Cooper has been doing it right for, you know, certainly, man, since he got sober in the 80s. He's just been like a howitzer, man, just mowing through the life and just winning and killing it and rocking. And he's never done a bad show. He loves rock and roll as much right now as he did in the late 60s when he walked into Frank Zappa's house. So again, man, an experience I never saw coming, and a life change for me, for my family. And, you know, again, that was a big step that led to other things later.
Now, that led to the Thin Lizzy job, and that had to be a dream gig.
Yeah, man, Thin Lizzy was a dream gig. You know, on paper, I'm still a part of Thin Lizzy. You know, the band just hasn't done very much in recent years. But yeah, all those years giving interviews, you know, wherever I did my first interview in Brother Kane, up until whatever interview I did while I was in Alice Cooper in 2010 and 11, when people would ask the generic, understandably obvious question, what are your influences? You know, Thin Lizzy was pretty much always the first band that would pop out of my mouth, you know, because they were the total package. You know, I did a deep dive on the guitar players first: Scott Gorham, Brian Robertson, Gary Moore, Snowy White. I'm having a total Eric Bell, you know, man. But then Phil Lynott's songwriting probably influenced, you know, all those early songs for me that I was trying to write. His influence was greater than anyone, greater than the Beatles, greater than the Stones, greater than anyone, because there was some poetry involved in his lyrics. There was, his vocal phrasing was unlike anyone else, man. He almost phrased like Bob Dylan, but with like Van Morrison melodies, and just outer worldly, so special, so unique. So yeah, I never saw that one coming, you know, never saw that coming. And there's no way that Thin Lizzy would have happened for me had it not been for Alice Cooper, because Lizzy and Alice did a couple shows together. You know, Scott Gorham and Brian Downey saw me play guitar. Their management was there, and it was right at the time that they had a spot open. And you know, again, it was credit to my wife, because we were trying to figure out our next move as a family and what we were going to do. And when the Thin Lizzy thing came up, Terry, I almost passed on it, because I was like, well, you know, we're not sure if we're going to move. And, you know, I was committed to Alice. You know, there was another tour. We were about to go to Australia, and the timing wasn't necessarily great. And my wife said, listen, you know, when we first met, the first mixtape you ever gave me was a Thin Lizzy tape. You know, she goes, Damon, Alice has had 30 guitar players in his life. He's going to be fine. They can get somebody else. She goes, if you don't do this Thin Lizzy thing, you're going to regret it for the rest of your life. And she was right. She was right. So, yeah, that started that chapter, that journey. And yeah, man, 2011, I joined Lizzy. We toured the States with Judas Priest. And all of 2012, man, we were all over Europe, and I got to go to places I'd never been. And, you know, Thin Lizzy's fan base is rabid in the UK. We just did, it was just a different energy, man, to be a part of that band. Because, you know, Alice Cooper has had 30 guitar players. Thin Lizzy's had like 5. You know, so it was a big deal. And I love Scott and Ricky Warwick. What a great singer. Great, just good guys, man. They're my mates. And you know, we keep in touch to this day. There's a little chatter about maybe some Thin Lizzy dates in 2022. And I certainly hope that happens, because I cherish those songs and those guys, man. I love those. I'm grateful for those friendships. And we definitely make a joyful noise together.
Now, I always liked how you guys started Black Star Riders, because you wanted to put out new music, but you didn't want to call it Thin Lizzy. And,
yeah,
I played All Hell Breaks Loose and Killer Instinct a lot when I had a radio show here in Indianapolis. A lot.
Wow. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah. Scott wanted to record some new music. He felt like he had the right band to do that with. There was a minute there where he felt like he wanted to call it Thin Lizzy. And we definitely made the right decision to not do that, because, you know, Phil Lynott's reach is too broad. Yeah. He is too special and too unique to the name Thin Lizzy. You know, if you're going to, hey, listen to this Thin Lizzy song, it better have Phil Lynott singing on it, or it's not Thin Lizzy, period. So, Black Star Riders, so much fun, man. Writing those songs, making those records. The fan base was so good to us, particularly in the UK. The rock press was so supportive of us. I think when they heard All Hell Breaks Loose, they were just relieved that the songs were good, you know, because they love Scott so much and they love Thin Lizzy so much. They would have probably written some nice things, even if the record was just okay. But the record was great. The songs were great. And so the fan base was really there for the band. And they still are to this day, man. They're still a Black Star Riders. You know, I made those 3 records with the guys and loved it. I did get to a point where I felt like I was working and performing out of the country too much. Yeah. I wanted to be closer to my family, and the wheels, you know, the gears were turning, brother, for me to get back behind the microphone myself. Right. And make some proper records, which is obviously, you know, what I've done over the last 4 years. And you know, man, I'm loving it. It's so fulfilling. And I didn't envision the Get Ready. You know, I just planned on being Damon Johnson. Yeah. You know, like Gary Moore or like Peter Frampton or like Joe Bonamassa or somebody like that. But man, I got a new manager a couple years ago, the great Kevin Lee. And Kevin has been such an asset in my life, man. He just believes in me. He believes, he loves, you know, he loves the style of music that I write, that I want to perform. And it was Kevin's idea for this last record to have a band name on it. He goes, all you talk about is Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Well, we need a Damon Johnson into something. So that the Get Ready was his idea.
I was going to say that was the next part of my
Yeah, baby.
I got this from your store.
Oh, awesome. Awesome, brother.
Yeah, that was going to be my next part. Now I think that Battle Lessons is not only the best record of 2021, it's easily the best record of the last 10 years, maybe more. I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh, wow. Wow. Terry, thank you, man.
I like it because it sounds modern, but it also, part of it sounds like it could have been made like in the late 80s or in the mid 80s or something, but it also sounds like it's made now. I mean, it's not dated sounding. I just mean the guitars sound, like that. And I don't know, I just really enjoy it.
Well, thank you, brother. So proud of that record. There's no album that I've made ever in my life that I have listened to personally more than I listened to Battle Lessons to this day. Just last week, man. Yeah, just last week, I had it cranked in my truck. My kids, my daily routine, Terry, my daily routine is I get up early and I drive the kids to school. It's about a half hour downtown because they're both going to school down in downtown Nashville. And, they put on their ear pods and, my daughter is listening to Harry Styles and my son is listening to either, who knows what the hell he's listening to, man. It's rap and hip hop, and there'll be some Metallica and Aerosmith in there every once in a while, but I can play whatever I want. So, man, I will just crank the Battle Lessons record, driving the kids to school. And it's fun, man. I mean, it gives me the same energy that I had as a kid listening to Highway to Hell or listening to Van Halen 2. It's
exactly,
the record's got those kind of riffs, those kind of songs, big choruses, Nick Raskulinecz crushing it, man. Just produced the hell out of that record. He's a brother, so grateful for our friendship and his involvement in my music. And of course the band, man. The band just killed it, man. Robbie and Jared. Jared Pope has been my drummer now, man, for almost, I guess now it's about to be our 8th year.
Wow.
Yeah, because he played on my EP that I made with Nick back in 2015. We started that. So, and Jared and I had been playing together some before that. So yeah, it's I really appreciate what you said about the record, Terry. There's some quality songs there. My main collaborator, Jim Troglin, he is from outer space, man. And he'll send me an idea that, to the listener, it might sound like either gibberish or just some weird, like a twisted Rolling Stones demo where the shaker is too loud in the mix, But I can hear those things and I hear just gold nuggets and I just start pulling stuff out and adding things. And I sit right here at this desk, Terry, and I'll make a demo. I demoed every one of those songs, all 9 of them, right here at this table. And then I send Jim, I take it to the end, finish, drums, bass, guitars, background vocals, total completed lyrics. And it's always the payoff, man. It's to play it for Jim. And he won't text me back. He'll call. Holy shit, bro, that's so good. So, he and I were so excited about the songs. We knew we had written some quality songs. And so it gave me the confidence to call Nick and go, hey, man, I know you're busy. You're always busy. But if you think I've got the songs, we need to make this record together. And he could not have been more fired up about the songs, Terry. Look, at the end of the day, everything we're talking about, it's all about songs. Brother Kane, Alice Cooper, Thin Lizzy, Black Star Riders, the Get Ready. It's all about songs, man. A great song changes everything.
Yeah.
There's no predicting what can happen if there's a great song involved. And it's I don't know, man. That's what makes it so much fun to talk to someone like yourself and kind of look back at all that. I can't believe I've been a part of all these great songs. Just so fortunate, man, to have a lot of talented people around me, and you know, people that love music as much as I do, and that you know, want to see if we can move the needle a little bit, and we've been able to do that sometimes.
What gave you the idea to do this as a trio? Now, I had been in a lot of 4-piece bands, but when I was in 3-piece bands, there's something about it that you seem to be able to control the dynamics more, you know, live and stuff. You can, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Of course, brother. You can't say it better than that. That's everything. That is the reason, is those dynamics. There's so much freedom for me as the guitar player and the singer to kind of, you know, do this.
Yeah.
You know,
Push and pull.
I'll lean in and sing, and you know, with a great rhythm section, man, you can take your hands off the guitar sometimes and just grab that microphone, and then the guitar jumps up front, and it's almost kind of selfish of me to want to just be in control of those dynamics. And there's no question that I'm feeling it when we play. And, you know, it's a tale as old as time. If the singer is feeling it, you know, the audience is going to connect. The audience is going to connect with that. They're going to respond to that. And it just makes for a great show. It makes for a great night out. And, you know, the more of these solo gigs I've done, I've just gotten more confident as a trio. I'll still play with another guitar player sometimes. You know, I love playing with my friend. I love playing with my buddy, Tony Higbee. He's a great player. He played on the Memoirs of an Uprising record. My longtime great friend, Buck Johnson, plays keys with Aerosmith. He's another one of my Alabama brethren. He did a couple shows with us just last year, showed up with his piano and his organ, and we rocked out, and he sang some amazing background vocals. That's fun as well. So, you know, it's like Kevin and I said right from the beginning, you know, a year and a half ago when we came up with the name. The Get Ready is whoever Damon decides to show up at the gig with. You know, it might be a 6-piece band one night, Terry, you know? That's so exciting to me. That's so much fun. That's so much fun. So yeah, that's the plan for this year, man, is to keep the get ready out there. I think, you know, I just dropped an insanely fantastic video for Can't Clap Any Louder.
I was going to say a lot of bands don't even put out videos now, and that's the third one from the record. And that is such a great, and it's fun, but you just can't take your eyes off it. You have to watch it all the way through. And then these days it's hard to do that because you're looking at a phone, you're looking at, you know, there's always something going on, but when that plays, you just stop.
Yeah, man. You know, look, we're not changing the world with our number of views on YouTube
Yeah.
with that video, but I don't care. I don't care, man. You know, it's, I forget who the guy is that gave this really great, he did a blog one time. It's been about 10 years ago or more, but it was called 1,000 True Fans. And the essence was simply, all you need is 1,000 true fans, and you can create and write and record and put out records the rest of your life.
Wow.
1,000 true fans will give you that. Now, look, if your goal is to be a millionaire and buy 2 or 3 extra properties and drive a fancy car, then no, you're going to need more than that. But that's not me, man. That's not my family. We just want to get to keep creating and playing music for a living. And I can't believe I've been able to do it this long, Terry. So I don't know if I got 1,000 fans, but I got enough of them that we're going to keep doing this. So there is that.
Here, we'll try to tie this up. I had some more. I had some guitar questions, but we'll save them maybe for another time.
Yeah, man.
Because I definitely want to ask you about the Lynyrd Skynyrd thing and filling in for Gary Rossington, because that in itself is an amazing story.
It's incredible, man. It's I've had so many great honors. You know, I've just been so honored to do so many things, all of which we've talked about so far, man. But you know, credit to my old friend Ricky Medlock, Johnny Van Zant. You know, Johnny remembered me from Brother Kane, but Ricky was really the one that came in and said, "Hey, you know, we have these dates booked. If we're going to need a guitar player to fill in for Gary," he goes, "I know the guy. If his schedule is open and he can do it, this is the guy." And so he and Johnny called me, said, you know, they had these 23 shows that they needed to finish for the year, and they weren't sure if Gary was going to get to come back at all, which ultimately he did not. You know, his health was not to the point that he could come back. So I think in a lot of ways, Gary was kind of my first guitar hero. Really, man. Like before any of those bands I talked about at the start of the interview as a kid, you know, I'm from the South. You know, Lynyrd Skynyrd was our Beatles. Lynyrd Skynyrd was our U2. They were our Guns N' Roses. They were the biggest band. Their songs, their music was the soundtrack of not just our lives, but of everything we did. You would hear them in the grocery store, at the football games, walking to class in junior high school, man. They would have it playing over in the hallway of the little speakers, you know? So I feel it's almost kind of spiritual, man, to play those parts in that band. And I don't take it lightly. I will never take it for granted. And I am committed to serving that music, and most importantly, serving Gary and those fans. That fan base has been there for that band even for 45 years after the plane crash. You know, there's no other story in the history of music like the Lynyrd Skynyrd story. So whatever the future holds with that, you know, if they need me, I want to do everything I can to help them. And it's just been the thrill of my life, man. You know, such a thrill. All of my kids were able to come see the show at one time or another this year. All 5 of them. I have some adult kids and 2 teenagers still at home, but you know, they all came. They're like, "Wow, Dad is playing in Lynyrd Skynyrd." It's a big deal. So I'm really grateful, man. I love that band. I love those songs, and I certainly love Gary Rossington. And he is he's the original, man. He's the OG. So nothing but love and respect for him. And I want to bring my 100% A game every time.
Well, at the end of the day, the most important thing right now is this. Battle Lessons, I'm holding up Battle Lessons record for those on the listen to the audio podcast. Where can they tell them where they can go to get this? Not only this and autographed, but several other albums, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff. Where can they go?
Terry, you know where to send them, baby. DamonJohnson.com. It's better than Amazon, people. You can get stuff at DamonJohnson.com you cannot get on Amazon or at Target. So yeah, man, I got a great website. I got a great web store. So many cool things on there. A lot of things, man, for the interested fan. And most importantly, all the music is there. All my CDs and stuff is available. We got Battle Lessons on vinyl. We still got some of those in stock. A lot of cool shirts. Every guitar pick I've ever had in my whole career, man, you can get one on my store. And Terry, it's just been so special, man, talking to you. I've talked I don't know that I've talked to anybody as long as I've talked to you.
I totally did that. I mean, I planned on keeping this to like 40 minutes, and we went an hour and a half.
Yeah, man. Well, the good news is I'm still in time for dinner. My wife is like, my wife is like, Damon, you can do all the interviews you want, but 6 o'clock, it's dinner time. I got to
Right.
keep those kids on a schedule.
Got
So,
it. Well, thank you so much for doing this, and we'll catch up further down the road, brother. And when you have something else out, definitely come back.
Terry, listen to me, buddy. Thank you. All the best to you. Continued success, continued good health to you. And it's been really great talking to you and getting to know you, man. Even if it's just through Twitter. So yeah, man, all the best. Thank you for all the kind words and for talking about the music. And yeah, man, battle lessons. Let's go.
All right. We'll see you. Thanks again.
All right, brother. Take
Bye.
care.
I'd like to thank Damon Johnson for all his wonderful time today. Be sure to go to damonjohnson.com for all kinds of information, tour dates, and a great web store. That's damonjohnson.com. And also go to tbpcpodcast.com and click that donate button. We'll see you next time.